Okay, so sound check, mic test. Okay, so let me just open my PowerPoint presentation here. Right, so a pleasant afternoon to every one of you guys. So I'm really sorry I cannot attend our class for today since I have a few matter that I have to attend to. But in lieu of a face-to-face class, I will be posting a recorded lecture for this session for this day. No. So our topic it's going to be on the utilitarianism. It's based on evaluating the moral worth of consequences of a certain action. No. So you judge a certain action based on the effects or the consequences of that certain action. So what we will tackle for this session, let me just okay. So for the learning objective for this afternoon, you're going to learn and understand about the moral theory of utilitarianism. This was the idea from Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. And also you would differentiate which is or you would differentiate between act and rule utilitarianism and also elaborate on how to use the utilitarian calculus in applying the concepts of utilitarianism and also to explore the pitfalls and cons in using utilitarianism in judging the moral worth of an action. Okay, okay, so I suppose you have here a case scenario wherein you have to choose between two sets of people. So this is just like a hypothetical dilemma, no? So this problem um, lets you actually choose if you're going to pull the lever. No, you are the person here. Kanang naa sa question mark. You're actually that person, and you're given the decision to pull the lever. No, you cannot stop the trolley from um, you cannot stop the trolley from actually moving. No, all you have to do or ang imo aram pwede mabuhat is pwede nimo ma-pull ang lever in order for the trolley to divert in another direction. So there are two directions nga pwede nimo ma-divert ang trolley. First is in the direction nga naay lima ka tao or lima ka certain nga tao and in another direction na apoy isa ka tao. So this case scenario will actually let you choose if kinsa ba jud ang imuhang asa nimo i-pull ang imong lever dito sa daghan og tao, lima ka tao or dito sa isa ka tao. So ultimately, you would actually have to sacrifice a person's life, no, in actually pulling the lever. So based sa concept sa utilitarianism, the best moral action there is one that produce the highest good or highest principle, highest happiness or good or pleasure or satisfaction to the greatest number of person. So in a sense, it would be logical nga dito ka sa track wherein isa ra ka tawo ang masagasaan sa trolley. But in that sense, no, you'd actually have to let that person die in order to save the other five gabo ka person. So the basic concept or generalization of utilitarianism is that actions are right if they produce more good than bad, when the consequences to all affected parties are considered. Otherwise, they are wrong. So this is also known as the greatest happiness principle. So an action is right if it produces the greatest amount of happiness for the greatest number of people. So there is something, there is a degree to which that you should attain for to the extent that it will maximize, or it will be maximized to a number or a greater number of person, no? So this idea was actually this actually came from Jeremy Bentham, no? He was actually born on February 15, 1748, and studied at Queen's College in Oxford in 1760 after he studied law at Lincoln's Inn. So, Jeremy Bentham published his first book, A Fragment on Government, and also he actually defined his theory of utilitarianism sa iyang book, The Introduction to the Principle of Morals and Legislation, and this was published somewhere in 1789. And here's a weird fact, no? According to his last will and testament, no, he actually wants to have his body preserved and have it keep in a certain museum. So this was like I think it was a wax figure nga ilang gi preserve, no, but then something came wrong with preserving his head, no. It was supposed to be nga ma-include iyang ulo, but then something went wrong with the preserving his head. So it turned out like this, no. It's like a mummy, mura siyang mummified, or it's really like out of some living nightmare good, no. It's really weird nga iyang i-preserve. So that's one thing. Now we also have another proponent sa ato ang utilitarianism, Mr. John Stuart Mill, no. He actually proposed that actions are right in proportion as they tend to promote happiness, wrong as they tend to produce the reverse of happiness. So, dili lang siya nga i-maximize nimo ang happiness to a certain number of people, but you also have to go with the actions that actually promote happiness and not one that actually produces pain or suffering. So Mill defines happiness as pleasure and the absence of pain. He argues that pleasure can differ in quality and quantity, and that pleasures that are rooted in one's higher faculties, intellectual, moral, and aesthetic faculty, should be weighted more heavily than pleasures of lower qualities. So later on, we will discuss more about how these two proponents actually differ, no, in their idea about utilitarianism, no. Okay, so 'di ba happiness was actually mentioned last time sa ato ang discussion regarding sa virtue ethics, no. If you can still recall, Aristotle actually proposed or argued that the highest good there is that everyone wants to achieve is something called eudaimonia, no? Or living a life, living a well-lived na life, no? Or something to to the effect of happiness, no? So you would think nga, is this somehow similar, sir, with utilitarianism? So there are actually some contrasting, or there's actually some differences, no, between these two na moral theories. So ang virtue ethics, this is more about the moral character or the goodness of an individual carrying out the action. It focuses on the person carrying out the action instead of their action. No, so it's focus more on the virtuousness of a certain person if nagposa siya adto nga certain virtue. A right act or a good act is an act that is carried out by a virtuous person. So, if a person has this kind of virtue, then everything he or she will do is actually good or right, no? If he doesn't have that certain kind of virtue, then this is something which is the opposite of virtue, which is vice, no? And you also have here utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is the moral theory that states an action is right if it is useful or if it is beneficial for a majority. So mas focus siya sa